everybody. My name is Donna Fuzel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home on IC in Christ Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications and Abundance TV, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon
Cool.
Fire in Australia.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, man, I'm so
far-reaching.
excited about that. Wow, all over the place. We're all over the country, but this is or all over the world already, but this is a satellite network that's actually originated for Christians
Cool.
out of Australia. So it's
Good.
a really good network to be part of. So we appreciate the opportunity. And thank you, Rob Patz, for helping make all this happen with us being on your network. We definitely appreciate that as well. Find us on the radio. You can go and download the app, icradio.media, and listen to the songs and all of our great programming that way as well. I have a good friend with me right now. His name is Phillip Gilliland. He's with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. Welcome back to the
Oh
show.
yeah, it's good to be here. Fresh back from Texas.
Oh yeah, good old Texas. I love Texas.
Oh, I do too. I do too. And I was in Amarillo at the WRCA finals,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of my favorite
Mm-hmm.
things and favorite events. And we had a ball. We just had a ball. So it started last Thursday, and we were there for the beginning, and we were there till the end, and left and got home. But the AFCC, the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches, they move. They will occasionally have open board meetings. They try to go to locations where there's churches that might not be convenient for them to attend. So we were doing one for the churches in West Texas and Oklahoma, and those folks came, and they attended the board meeting, and it was a great board meeting. The thing that was so neat to me, between the staff and the board, we had a lot of our kids and grandkids were all there, and it was amazing to see our next generation coming, and they were having the time of their life,
Mm-hmm.
and we just watched them all day long. They played together, and these are kids and high school
Mm-hmm.
teenagers that they get to see each other 2 or 3 times a year, and they have learned to make the most of it. And Amarillo wasn't any different. They were running around and roping each other's feet, because during the day there's a huge trade show there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we set up a booth and we give away Bibles,
Uh-huh.
and we do that all the way through the rodeo at night.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of great people that come in and visit us, and it's amazing when you find out how small the world really is. My good friend Brad McLean, who does the horseback gospel, I post it every morning. He was there, him and his wife, and we got to spend a little time together, and that's great. And it's the same for adults. These kids get to see each other a few
Mm-hmm.
times a year, but us adults are the
Mm-hmm.
same way. Some of the pastors, John Paul is a pastor in Woodard, Oklahoma. I got to spend a little time with him, and we don't normally see each other, and other pastors out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Plus all my fellow staff members that I do see a few times a year more.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it was fantastic. It was just great, and they had Cowboy Church service there yesterday morning,
Mm-hmm.
which was awesome. Uh, and then you have a lot of well-known. Let me say, these are nationally known cowboys like Tom Morehouse.
Mm-hmm.
I got to talk to Mr. Tom, Mr. Gosh, if I wasn't trying to say it, I could say it easy, but Mr. Boots O'Neill, who's normally there, he's 90 years old. Last year, he told me the day before he was there that he was on a horse all day. He's worked his whole life nearly at the Four Sixes. But Mr. Boots was in the hospital this year, and we're kind of concerned about him. And but anyway, it was great. And Mr. Bob Tallman, who is the world-renowned and recognizable voice of rodeo, he came by and talked to us a long time, and he's very inspiring. Everybody knows Mr. Bob Tallman as the voice of rodeo, so it was neat. It was very neat, and such a blessing to see those kids. We all said the same thing. You know, this is the best part. Them kids having the time of their life. Man, that was so much over because we had all of them there. Nathan Duncan's kids from Thousand Hills Cowboy up church up in
Mhm.
Tennessee, and uh, the High Towers out of Morristown, Tennessee, and our president, Chase Pope's kids, were all there. And I know I'm leaving out some. Miss Connie Sanford, who is on staff with me, she has a huge lot of grandchildren. She had three of her granddaughters there,
Mhm.
and they were precious. They were high schoolers,
Mhm.
all three of them, and just beautiful girls. But they kept us all in stitches, cutting up, and uh, Danny and Robin Bry's grandson Granton was there. Of course, Granton's the same age as the girls, so he was wherever the girls were.
Uh-huh.
And we had a lot of that going on. It was just fantastic.
You know what's really nice about that? And kids always remember the childhood friends. Like mine, Tammy and Vicky and Deborah, we were all good friends growing
Yeah.
up. And we're still in contact with each other. Of course, Facebook kind of helps keep
Oh, it
that. And
does. It
but
does.
they build lasting relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm talking about really good ones too. And with people who are kindred spirit.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And of course, Dale Brisby has a booth there, and all of those kids are Dale Brisby fans.
Mm-hmm.
And my youngest one, he got a cap with him signature. He got all of the interns of Dale to sign it. Of course, we got
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 pictures of him with Dale, and Dale is so good with those kids. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he is really good with kids. I mean, you might think he's a little rich. I'm here to tell you, when it comes to kids, he has a heart for
Mm-hmm.
kids, and he does some good things for them. So, all of those things were really special. And you know, I've noticed this, and I want to share this with you because it happened last Sunday. I was coming up the mountain to preach at Crossover in Henniker,
Mm-hmm.
and my truck went into the limp mode. That truck has never given me a minute's trouble. It's got 130,000 miles on it. It's a diesel, and I had a funeral to do Sunday afternoon, so I came up here to preach. Go back to Scottsburg. It stayed in the limp mode the rest of the day. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what a disaster this is going to be. I know it's something major, and it wasn't major, but it was it
Enough to cramp you
enough to
down.
make you. And this really happened to me. I bought that truck, and I love Bobby Ledbetter, and bought my wife's car from Bobby, and it would be the same thing if it was him. But I bought that truck from Kerry Mitchell at Chevrolet Boaz, and of course, Monday morning, as soon as they opened, I called and I'm telling him, look, I've got to go to Amarillo. I got to leave early
Oh my
Wednesday, so
goodness.
I've got today and tomorrow. He says to me, can you get it down here, or do I need to send a wrecker? I said, oh, I think it'll make it, and it did fine.
Mhm.
Uh, and he took that truck and man, I just stopped and prayed. I said, you know, Lord, I really don't need this expense. And if you're trying to tell me not go, then
You
I
always wonder, your
want to hear
mind's
it.
just
Yeah,
wandering, you know.
I want to hear that.
Mhm.
And I get down there, and Carrie said, give us a few minutes and let me see what's going on. And sure enough, about 30 minutes go by. They had to cool the engine off because they got to get to a certain place.
Mhm.
It comes back and tells me there's an injector that's bad. He said, but I have one. He
Oh,
said,
yeah, you think of supply chain.
oh
What if
yeah,
they don't have it?
yeah,
What if?
I'm thinking some of the, and I've heard horror stories about it. People
I
trying to
have
get
too.
parts, and it's not the dealer's fault.
Hmm.
But Kerry Mitchell is such a good friend, such a good Christian man, and he came out there and he said, I can have it, I believe, today. And he said, you take this vehicle and go home or go wherever and do whatever you need to do, and I'll call you late this afternoon. Sure enough, on Monday afternoon, about 4 o'clock, I called, and they said, your truck's ready. So I go down there to pick my truck up, and everything was fine, and I went
Hmm.
to pay the bill. and somebody had paid my bill. Oh, changed me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it just spoke to
It
my
was
heart.
meant all that
Oh
doubt that
yeah.
you would have. Maybe I'm
I
not supposed to go. Maybe I'm
no,
not.
and I found out right then. I said, well, I know Satan was the one trying to stop me from going.
Hoping you'd give up.
So I go on, and man, no wonder, because it was such a good, wholesome time together. But I will never forget that, because first off, you got to have a good Christian friends are the people I want to do. And if it costs me more to do a little business with somebody like Carrie Mitchell or Bobby Ledbetter, then I'm going to gladly
Mm-hmm.
pay it. Because when you get in the ditch, those guys are the guys that will come bail you
Mm-hmm.
out. And I am so thankful. And I was all week long. I kept thinking over and over, that was such an opportunity for the Lord to speak to me.
So what if
And
he hadn't
oh
been?
man,
What if he'd given up?
oh, I know it. And I think too oftentimes us as Christians, we give up way too easy.
Yeah.
And bad things do happen.
Mm-hmm.
Bad things happen to good people.
Mm-hmm.
What we think's good people, really, if you look at what the rich man said to Jesus, said when he said, "Good master," Jesus said, "Why callest thou me good? There's none good but my Father in heaven." So, you know, I just think it's amazing how God will speak to you in circumstances. And I am so excited about this coming Sunday,
Oh,
because
I can't wait.
we have the dedication service for Lookout Mountain Cowboy Church, and that'll be this Sunday night out at out at near between Collinsville and Sand Rock, at the new building that God's
It's
had. Oh,
nice.
I saw a picture. I haven't been in it.
I can't wait for you to see it.
I
It looks
can't
even
either.
better than the pictures.
I can't wait. And I know we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a big crowd. We're going to have great food, and it's going to be amazing. So I can't wait to get out there and I get to preach. Don asked me to preach, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the church, for them, and for all of y'all who go to Lookout Mountain. So it's going to be a great time, and
It is growing like crazy. I don't know that I've ever seen a new church get started. It's grown like this one, and kids galore.
yeah,
I can't wait for you
yeah.
to see the kids.
Well, that is the heart of our future, is our young people, and I think we are, something is happening in cowboy churches. Sand Mountain Cowboy Church is growing in leaps and bounds, and Lonesome Dove is just doing amazing, and the Trading Post, even though I'm not there half the time. Uh, Charles Manning preaches when I'm not there. Him and Dakota Gant, and the Lord just gave me guys that could fill in for me, and the church never misses a beat. But there is a revival going on in cowboy churches across our land, and it's like I said when I was up at in Morristown back in September with Kent and Karen Hightower, and then we were in Amarillo together. I told him, I said, we were up there with him and preached on in September up there, and he baptized 12 people that day.
Wow.
And a Sunday or two later, I baptized 8 at the Trading Post, and the Sunday after that, I baptized 3 more. So there's a lot of great things going on in cowboy churches, and we are so blessed that the Lord lets us just be near it, what He's doing, and see what He's doing, because it will thrill your soul. And it, we have a lot of other great things happening. We're about to move Southern Cross Cowboy Church into another building that the Baptist people have given us to use, and it was a traditional church. It was at one time, it was a thriving church building, and it saddened me so bad, because when I went over there and we looked at it, and they were telling us, "This is yours, you use it." and I felt so bad because there's two gentlemen there that had gone there the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
and they were my age, and man, it hurt them to say we lost it. I tell you how people lose their church is when they lose their young people. If you don't have young people in your church, your church has an expiration date.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have children and youth, and you don't do something to disciple them, you're going in a bad direction. And I'm so thankful for the ladies at our church, Miss Barbara and Jennifer and some others that pitch in and help. And man, every Wednesday night they're down there. And Miss Marcia Sellers, she came and said, "Look, I don't want to teach, but I'll help cook the food." And it takes all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And some people just wasn't meant to be teachers. I respect that, but everybody has something they can
Well, if your
do.
passion is cooking, well, then
Oh
let
yeah,
it do that.
what a blessing! And we've just had so many good things to happen. We just see God's hand at work all around our churches, and it's not just here. It's churches in Texas and Tennessee and Mississippi and Louisiana. And I know Danny Bry, who leads our team that I'm on, of new church starts. Danny is on his. They had their first service at Leedsville this past Sunday. No, I think that's coming up this next Sunday. And then Danny is back down there again for something else. There's another one trying to take off, and we have this past year we had 10 new church starts that were successful. That was this year, just this year. And, my message to all our church people is, look, we couldn't plant churches if you didn't. I work for you. That's who I work for Donna and Phillip Fiesel. I work for Don and Judy, and I work for everybody that goes to a Cowboy church. That's who I work. You are who I work for. I'm not the AFCC. We are the AFCC.
I think that's part of the intrigue too.
Oh, it may be.
I really think
I
so.
hope people understand that.
Well, Don was talking yesterday, and Don and Judy, you got to hang out with them a little bit. By the way, that girl knows how to do all kinds of
She
stuff.
can do anything.
Throws the hay, whatever. I want to hang out with her a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she can turn right around and teach people how to crochet.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so she does it all. So she's something else. She really is. But Don was talking about when the church first started, Lookout Mountain. And I remember this. I remember some of this. We got in a little bit later there, but we were in the other building. And it would be severely cold.
Oh, yeah.
So we had these little heaters, little space heaters.
Yeah.
People just kind of hang around those space heaters. But still, people still came.
Well,
But then I would pass by another, and I'm not throwing off on anybody at all. I'm just trying to make a point. You'd pass by some other churches, there might be 5 cars out there.
Yeah.
And they had plenty of heat.
Oh, I know.
But people were willing to go out into the cold.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. It's like one day, and it was last month in October, I went down to, and we talked about this the last time I was on the show, went down to Sand Mountain Cowboy Church at their, their harvest day or festival day of the fall. And I left there and went to Detter Hereford's cow sale. I love me some Detter people. They are awesome folks. They have this great breed of Herefords, and people come from all over the country. And Lonesome Dove serves the food that they cook that day. So I was down there, and I love going. But I was at Sand Mountain Cowboy Church, and you couldn't park the car, Sergeant. Hundreds and hundreds of people. And I drove by a traditional church on my way down to the Hereford sale. And that traditional church tried to have the same thing. And they had a few jumpies, and they had a few people, but they didn't have what Sand Mountain can. And I'm not throwing off on them. I'm not, people are looking for something other than a building. People are looking for something other than comfort. People are looking for something to sustain them, not something to make them comfortable. And we have real people that come to Cowboy Church. People come to Cowboy Church just like people went to Jesus in whatever shape they're in. and we just try to love on them. It's not
Mm-hmm.
up to us to fix anybody. You'll never fix somebody. We just have to
Mm-hmm.
point them to
Mm-hmm.
Jesus and let Him do the repairs, the fixing, and whatever they need, because He is the one that can. We can only introduce them to Him. We can't do it.
There was an awesome lady. Phil and I went to the eye doctor a few months ago, and of course she's a real nice Christian girl, and so she's wanted to make sure we were Christians. So she said, "Well, what church do you go to?" And I told
Yeah.
her the Cowboy Church, and she went, "Why is this?" She said, "We can go pass by any Cowboy church, and
Yeah.
there are just tons of cars out there."
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I know there is at ours too. I mean, there. As a matter of fact, we thought we were going to have a problem finding a parking spot ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good
That's
problem.
a good. That's a great,
Yeah.
great program. But the kids are just they're not in it just to be there because their parents made them. You can tell the kids
Oh
actually
yeah.
want to
Yeah.
be there.
Oh yeah. I don't ever have to ask my young boys, are you going to church? Do you want to go to church? They are ready by the time I'm ready.
They
A
want to
lot of time,
go.
most of the time, Jacob is in the truck before I get in the truck. And sometimes he'll say, let me have the keys, let me go start the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll go out there and be listening to music and have the truck ready to go when I get out there. Because now it's different when you're trying to get him up on a Monday morning after driving 980
To
miles the
school.
day before to go to school. It's a little different. But if it's something he wants to do, and it was hilarious
But
to
isn't
me.
that amazing? That's where his heart is.
Oh yeah, and every morning when we were in Amarillo, of course I would be real quiet. I'd get up and I'd shower and go down
Mm-hmm.
and dress and go downstairs to hang out with my friends. I mean, we all stay at the same
Mm-hmm.
place, and we start drinking coffee at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and I'm always the first one down there, and I'd leave Jacob asleep in the room,
Mm-hmm.
but every morning I never went back to that room and caught him asleep. He would come down dressed and ready for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 30 minutes or an hour later because he was so excited. It
I think it's because they get to take a part in the
Yeah,
church.
yeah,
Like kids are not ignored. I mean, and another thing is I've been to churches before where somebody would say the kids come up front and they'd just be dragging like they
yeah,
didn't want parents to
yeah.
take them and all that kind of stuff. But here all you got to do is say kids come up here, and
They
they
take off.
start like in droves. Like
Well,
kids come from out of nowhere, and Phil and I are just like, wow,
well, I
look at
think
all the
it's
kids.
because I think part of that's because we've kind of learned some things that takes away barriers. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want a church to thrive, take away the barrier, whatever it is that could possibly keep people from not
Mm-hmm.
wanting to go to church. Uh, but I love the fact that kids love going to Cowboy Church because we have adults in Cowboy churches all over North Alabama that led their parents to Cowboy Church because they either saw a youth rodeo, got involved in youth rodeo, their
Mm-hmm.
friends invited them to youth night or something,
Mm-hmm.
and they ended up dragging their parents to
Mm-hmm.
church. So there's a place in the Bible that says a child shall lead them. So I think there's a lot of that goes on in Cowboy Church. I just love it. I just love what I get to do and what I get to see and what's being revealed to us as we go
Mm-hmm.
along and see these, and especially like a new church like Lookout Mountain. Well, it's a year and 4 months old, but Noah not. It is really rare that one takes off like Lookout Mountain, but God just put His blessings on the people over there, and it all starts with the pastor and his vision
Mm-hmm.
and I mean it is amazing just to see what happened there because I remember it very well. There was like 40 and then maybe 41 or two and then there was 80.
Mm-hmm.
The third service there was 81.
Doubled.
Yes, and it has been exploding ever
Mm-hmm.
since, and such a blessing to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to meet some really great people that I didn't know, like Brother Wendell. I think he
Oh, we
is.
love Wendell and Linda.
Yes,
Oh, Linda made this necklace for me.
yeah. Oh, I love Miss Linda, of course, along the way, you learn to greet. And when her husband passed away, and I went to the funeral, and I just thought he was such a great guy, and still do. He was a great guy, and when you help plant a church, that honeymoon period, ever who gets involved in it, they never, I never lose my attraction for that church. I'm always attracted to go back. So I love to go back to these churches that got started, and maybe we helped a little bit, and my part's usually not very much, but boy, when you get to go back and see them just thrive, and you say thank you, Lord, for
They love you.
Oh.
And I just want to say, so the announcement was made that Phillip is going to be at our church Sunday night. People started clapping.
Oh, bless her heart. Yeah, I'm excited to get to be there. It is.
We're going to feed you.
Oh, that's good, because I love chuck wagon cooking, and that's that's part of my problem. But anyway,
and all the women are going to be bringing desserts.
Oh, that is my.
And you know how it is now. You're going to have a bite of everything. Yes. Which is going to be a lot of a bite of everything.
Yeah. Well, when we did the fifth Sunday night over there, the food was just incredible. All those people know how to cook. They know how to cook.
You remember what Linda did?
What?
It was Linda, and what happened is it was like raining. There were thunderstorm warnings out. There were all this stuff was happening. So what happened is they kept saying that, it's not going to rain. And I was looking, and I said, well, look at the clouds. I guess I'm the doomsdayer, because I was saying, really, we might need to think about what to do to be inside, because we had all this food and everything outside. So she said, no, it's not going to rain. And I said, well, okay then.
And it rained everywhere but there.
But there. You could see, it was like, you know how you can look out in a far distance and you can see the rain coming down? It was all around us.
Oh, it was. It was. But it didn't rain there. I mean, my goodness.
I'm going to have to start listening to Linda.
Yeah. Well, they had, I remember one of the very early well, it may have been the very first service. It was the very first service, because it was the same way, and it did sprinkle a little bit, but it didn't do any more than just sprinkle a little bit. But it really rained around that area, and when Don got up and started to speak, there was the most beautiful rainbow. Because back when we first started it, we had the back as the front as the back, and there was the most beautiful rainbow behind him, and people took pictures of it. People have some pictures. It was like God said, well, this is going to be okay. I'm just reminding you that I'm still here, and this is going to be good.
I mean, I don't know how you could doubt. I just don't know how you possibly can. Let's go ahead and cut into a commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes, so y'all hang in there. We're going to talk just for a minute.
Shepherd's Cove Thrift Shop, located on Highway 431 in Albertville, is a large store that is restocked weekly with new and gently used items donated by our community. When you shop at the Hospice of Marshall County Thrift Shop, you not only get great deals, but you also help neighbors and friends receive the end-of-life services they desperately need. Hospice of Marshall County is a non-profit United Way agency, and we depend on the generosity of those in our community to continue providing expert care to all, regardless of ability to pay. We accept donations during regular business hours 9 to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. For more information about our community events and volunteer opportunities, please call 256-582-3325. Thank you for your support of Shepherd's Cove.
The Miracle Pottery.
At Miracle Pottery, each pottery item is hand-turned from durable stoneware, clay body, and non-scratch high-fire glaze. Dishwasher oven and microwave safe, our handcrafted dinnerware and bakeware will last a lifetime, staying just as beautiful as the day it was born. Each pot is signed first with a cross in thanks to our Lord, our name, and then the year. We say a tiny prayer for the receiver of each piece that they receive abundant blessings in their lives.
is not just about pottery. We're located in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains near Mentone and Valley Head, Alabama. Miracle Pottery is nestled at the base of the hills at 7871 Alabama Highway 117 between Gadsden, Alabama and Chattanooga, Tennessee. Please go to our website, miraclepottery.com, for more info about our other getaway cottages. You can also call us at 256-635-6863.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales look forward to serving you. And you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Fort Payne and Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by the locations in Fort Payne and Gadsden. We sincerely look forward to serving you.
So who likes ribs, chicken livers, hamburger steak, and fried chicken? These are just some of the things you'll find at the bars of the Cattle Stampede in Fort Payne. And dessert is to die for. Cookies, cakes, all kinds of cobblers. And don't forget to ask for your ice cream. Not to mention the steak bar, seafood bar, barbecue bar, salad bar, and dessert bar. Plus, it's all you can eat. Come hungry and bring your friends. Lunch is Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., and the price is only $8.99. We're also open on Saturday and Sunday, just in time to get out of church. We're looking forward to serving you, and a great big thank you for all your business. Welcome back. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home on IC Radio in the town of Geraldine, Alabama, in Christ Radio. You can find us also on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, as well as Abundant TV. Thank you so much, Rob Patch, for making this happen. You can find us on Abundant, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire, and also in Australia. I wonder how much they're making fun of my southern accent.
Well, it wouldn't be just you.
But we appreciate the opportunity. I have Phillip Gilliland with me right now. Man, we were friends right at the start, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've told Phillip every decision Phil and I have made about business or anything. I'll say, well, we'll talk to Phillip about it. And I remember the first time I told you that I'm going to start this radio station.
I do too.
And you prayed with me.
Yeah.
First thing you said, let's pray first.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, I'll never forget that. It's just been a wonderful friendship. Absolutely. Yes. And Phillip and I both love you a lot, Phillip.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I love y'all too.
Absolutely. The Cowboy Church, man, I love it. And this is where we go to church. But I'll have to tell you this, the Cowboy Church makes me think of stories I've heard my grandparents talk about, back in the 1940s, the 30s, 40s, and the 50s when they went to church.
Yes, and at the board meeting it was brought up, we have a lot of those outlying country type churches that have reached out and wanted, and the board spoke about it and told us to don't put any barriers up. Just because they don't have an arena or something, don't let that be a barrier. And I thought that was huge. I mean, it was really huge. So there's still some of those churches around that are way out in somewhere like, I think, Rock Valley or
Poplar Springs.
Poplar Springs.
Which is in Marshall County. and it's kind of between us and Albertville. And I
Yeah.
really do. This is where my grandparents went to church at. But I remember when they didn't have air conditioning and stuff in the church, and so
Oh,
we
me
grew up
too.
in Oxford, and so it was a trip for us to get to go to Poplar Springs. And they would have these big windows, and they had the windows raised, and it was kind of fun. People would be actually sitting inside. They were big windows. People would actually have so many people there at church. People would actually be sitting in the window sills.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it was such a different time. I think that post depression that came afterward, people realized how much they needed God during their depression.
I think we're
Uh,
about to go through
I
all of
wouldn't
that.
be surprised. I mean, if it leads people to Jesus, then
So be
so let it come, because I believe people learn from that material things can be taken away and gone, but
Mhm.
man, you know, there was a family that lived near where it was a whole generation or two before me, but I've talked about them in sermons, and although I didn't know them, it was a lady with 4 children that had lost her husband in some kind of accident or
Mhm.
something. And of course, back in that day and time, there was no such thing as workman's comp, or I don't even think there was Social Security
Mhm.
available like it is
Mhm.
today. And the neighbors, pretty much, I mean, she lived in a potato shed. She
Mhm.
lived in a concrete block potato shed with 4 kids, and it had were all in one room,
Mhm.
heated with a wood stove
Mhm.
and no windows, just a front door. And uh, Brother Leonard Mathis told me in detail about that story, and it, although it was I'm 2 generations removed, it changed my own life.
Mhm.
And it's amazing what people endured during that time, and we're going through a bad time right now in this country. We may not know it, but there's a bad time.
There
It's
could
an
be a
evil time.
collapse at any time.
Well, and not only that, you look at what happened up in Charlottesville, Virginia. Uh, I mean, just evil lurks
Mhm.
all around us.
Mhm.
Anyway, I just don't think that we realize how critical the times are that we live in. And I hope our country turns back to God. And we see it in our cowboy churches.
But I'm not seeing it anywhere else.
But and I don't think that we're the only ones. But at the same time, I know traditional churches are struggling,
Mhm.
and we're thankful. All 4 of the churches in Marshall County belong to the Marshall Baptist
Mhm.
Association. They are a tremendous encouragement to us,
Mhm.
and they've done a lot of things to help us. Uh, and we if we get the opportunity, we try to do something to help them. But we're just living in perilous times,
Mhm.
and over things are happening to make us realize that.
Well, we have a hurdle. We jump that hurdle, then there's another one just right there. COVID was a huge, huge
Yeah,
hurdle for everybody,
absolutely.
businesses and churches.
Yeah, and now we're in the midst of one of the worst and earliest flu outbreaks we've ever
Mhm.
had, and
Mhm.
I think God is trying to speak to America, and America needs to listen.
Mhm.
They need to listen, because this country was founded on Christian principles, and that's why all our money says "In God We Trust," and there's people working diligently to try to get that
Yeah.
removed. Uh, we have been too kind to other people by letting some uh, nationalities come into this country that we
Mhm.
shouldn't have let come in.
Mhm.
We shouldn't have let them in. You say, well, that sounds cruel. Well, let me tell you something. What they do to people is very cruel.
Yeah, it is.
And you don't know. I mean, you just,
Horrid to young people,
oh,
to
yeah,
young girls.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
just
it's like they're a third or fourth class citizen.
mhm.
It's like they make them into doormats. It's so
Mhm.
bad. And we've let them come in. We even got a couple of them serving in Congress.
Mhm.
Lord help us.
Mhm.
That shouldn't have. That shouldn't have happened.
Mhm.
That wouldn't have happened 40 years ago. There was no way that would have happened 40 years ago.
What do you say to people who say, well, the church just really doesn't need to be involved in politics? What do you say about that?
Well, I say this. You better have the church involved in it, or you'll have a dictatorship
Agree.
and communism or something else.
Mhm.
Because if you don't follow the biblical principles of God, I think you're missing out on what we were uh, called to be, and we were supposed to be as citizens of the United States of America. We this country was birthed in a time when people were seeking freedom from religion, a false religion,
Oppressors.
oppressive taxes and other things. They came here and then had to fight the country that they came from.
Mhm.
And so I don't want to get on a soapbox, but I heard something on TV this morning about King Charles, and I thought, man, he's not my king. I don't have a King Charles. And if the news is on and they start talking about the royal family, I cut it off. And it's not because I'm against the royal family. I don't have any axe to grind with them.
But there's only one king, and I
There's
think we're
only
putting
one king.
too much emphasis on people.
Man, people will let people. We are all just sinners. I mean, there's none of us good. Jesus told us that. So, the only thing good is when He comes and lives in our heart. Now, that's the best thing that can happen.
That's the best peace of mind you can
Oh,
have.
yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
care. I don't care who the president is. I mean, the president we have right now has a lot of faults in him. But I'm glad I don't put my trust in him.
My hope's not in government. And I've thought of that song, and I've said it in my church for the last 3 or 4 months, but over and over again, all my hope is in Jesus. And that's where my hope is and rest. It's not in who's the White House or what the stock market is or what's in my bank account. Or
We had a former pastor, Dr. Grinstead, Trinity Baptist Church in Oxford, Alabama, and he didn't tell people how to vote or anything like that, but he would say, you're listening to the liberal media, you need to know the different sides, and he started local and up. And so what he would do, he would have a ballot, and he would say, you need to know who is pro-abortion.
Yeah.
You need to know that. You don't need to vote for anybody who's for abortion. And then he would just name over things, and he would say, this fella right here, I know is.
Yeah.
And so he would educate folks who maybe
Well,
didn't.
that's the problem. We have a lot of people in our country that have a strong political opinion that have no education on what party platforms are. They don't know what a party platform is. And before you vote for something, you ought to know what that party's platform is. And I'm telling you.
But I want to say this too. I've been out people on the Republican side too. I would much rather vote for somebody who's a Christian conservative.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so if I know that a Republican has voted a particular way, I'll find another opponent.
Yeah. I think we're like I said earlier, we're living in perilous times, but man, this is not the end of it. It's probably going to get worse. Truthfully, it's probably going to get a lot worse. But when your hope is in the Lord Jesus and you have Him to call upon and pray to, it gives you a hope beyond hope.
Yeah, but you know something? The smartest people I know on earth that I have ever known are farmers.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You need to hang out with a farmer. You need to find one and just hang with them, because you're going to find out all kinds of great things that people who profess to be brilliant with a degree, and I love degrees, but degree after degree after, and they have no common sense.
That's what farmers have. They have a lot of common sense.
It's built in.
Oh yeah, that's why. I've been to the NFR, the National Finals Rodeo. I would just come back from the Working Ranch Rodeo, and I tell everybody we talk about how we love being around those people, all those kids that come through there and come in there. Man, there's nothing like farm kids. And one of our big events that we do is we do the Alabama FFA convention, and we give Bibles away there. Uh, Even back in my working career a few years ago, I was at the National FFA convention and got to receive an award for our company for being a sponsor, and it was huge. And for everybody that thinks all our young people's going to heck in a handbasket, you need to go hang around some FFA kids. It will renew your hope in the young people in this country, because they are farm kids. And man, I just love what they do, and it always is such a blessing to me to get to work one of those. And of course, my friend that's at Auburn, Will Aycock, is the past state president. He just got back from a couple of weeks ago from the national convention. His dad messaged me while I was in West Texas, because his dad is the state FFA director in New Mexico. He texted me and said, "You're in my backyard again." I said, "Yes, I am. I would love to see him." He was home not too long ago, and we got to be together some. But it's the same reason that you were saying. If you want to know something, ask a farmer, because he knows. And all those ranchers that came through there, and some of them are old men, but they support the WRCA. See, the WRCA, the Working Ranch Cowboy, that organization is set up to fund a man or his family or his children that was working on a ranch and got sick, got hurt, something happened to. And there's stories that come out of that, and that's how they, because most of those guys don't have workman's comp. Some of them can't afford to have insurance even. But that WRCA, because I was there in 2017, I'll never forget it. Chris Wilson's wife got up, and he had passed away. Chris Wilson was the manager of the Bell Ranch, and he got cancer as a young man and passed away. And he had 2 little kids, and this was 2017. They recorded me telling the entire story, and I'm gonna abbreviate it for you. It's on a YouTube with the AFCC from back a few years ago. But what happened at that thing was the man they were auctioning. They have this huge auction, and it raises tens of thousands of dollars. And we were sent there by Panhandle Slim with a certain amount of money, a pretty large amount of money, and they told us, use this money to help somebody. Well, we go into the auction thinking we're going to buy something, and did. We bought a Chris Wilson pair of spurs that he liked. They put them up to auction. Of course, Chris had passed that same year as the year he passed away. He wrote a book called "I'll Drop You Off." Our church, not knowing that he was that sick, did a men's Bible study out of that book called "I'll Drop You Off." So I got a chance to talk to his wife, and such a blessing. But when they auctioned off that spurs, they brought $3,000. And there was a man sitting there in a wheelchair that had got hurt in a ranching accident. His daughter was going to college on money that came from the WRCA. This man couldn't say a word. He was pretty well paralyzed, and he was voiceless. And when we won the spurs in the auction, he was given that set of spurs. And it rocked that place. It rocked that place.
Chills.
I'm telling you, some people wept, some people clapped and cheered. And that night at the ranch rodeo, I'll never forget it. We were all sitting in there. Just that happened in that morning. We were sitting at the ranch rodeo, and we were just doing what you do, getting ready for rodeos, talking and having a good time. Mr. Bob Tallman started his introduction at the very first of the rodeo. Mr. Bob said, "I don't know how many of you people were in the auction this morning, But there's some people from the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches that did something that changed who we are. And I want you guys to stand up. And there's 20 or 30,000 people there. They had to turn the lights down and put the spotlight on us. And it was something that only God could do. It wasn't about us. It wasn't about us. It was something that God made happen. It was just something He did. It was never
there's
about
something bigger, and there's something about character.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Brian Maxwell, you know Brian.
Yes.
And so Brian has these 4 or 5 kids,
Yeah.
and they're all homeschooled.
Yeah.
But I knew they were homeschooled from the second I met them. There was something about their respect of people and wanting to actually go to church. You know, and so I asked Brian, I said, "Are your kids homeschooled?" And he said, "How did you know?" And I said, "Because Phil has a sister who homeschooled kids, and smart kids." My first thing when I found out Phil's sister Paula was homeschooling was they're going to be so antisocial because they're just going to be home. These are the most social kids you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Well,
just like all over it.
A lot of them now are involved in a co-op. We played a basketball game the other night against a team that is a co-op team that are really homeschooled. They're not a Christian school. We played against them, but they are in a co-op, and it's great.
Is it the attention they get? And there's some awesome teachers out there, but they're having to spend most of their time correcting people.
Oh yeah.
And you're not supposed to correct kids anymore.
Well,
according to
of course,
social behavior.
My wife teaches that, and my boys go to Cornerstone Christian, and it is different there. I can tell you, it is completely different there.
See, my son went to Trinity Christian Academy.
Yeah.
And there was something that I did. Oh, I don't remember what it was now. So Brad comes in from school one day, and now I was a math whiz. Okay, I got to represent the school in the math contest. So, and Brad is too. He took that from me. So he comes in from school and he says, "Mom, got to have a calculator." And I went, "A calculator?" And I'm thinking he just wants a calculator. There is no way. I consider a calculator in school cheating. That's what that's how I look at it. So I said, "Okay, I'm going to call your teacher." And I thought, okay, if he's fibbing to me, he's going to get like, "Oh, I'm just joking. I'm just, whatever like that." Well, he sat there and watched me. And I said, "I'm going to call your teacher." And he said, "Okay." So I called the teacher and I said, "Brad tells me he has to have a calculator in school." And she said, "He does." And I said, "Wait a minute. That's cheating because they're not using their noodle. They're not using their head, So that's when I took Brad out of public school and put him in Christian school.
Oh, yeah.
And there was none of that. You had to do this in your head kind of stuff. Do you feel that's where we lost our kids?
Well, I think that's part of it.
Now, I love technology. Technology's kind of awesome to have here at this station.
Oh, but... Well, that's the thing, and by the way, my wife is a math teacher, and she is a math nerd, and it drives me crazy.
I knew there was something else I liked about her. Somebody with numbers, you just kind of congregate.
But the thing is, we have so many kids that come out of bad circumstances or something less than good circumstances at home, and the teacher spends most of the time trying to teach them discipline. And they don't get they have a hard time having time to learn what they need to learn or to be taught. But I don't know. I think some of that's part of it, and not that I'm down on all the public school. That's not it. It is a challenge, and man, there's people. This is the first time in my lifetime I remember schools looking for teachers. If you're a teacher and you've been out of work, man, there's no reason now that everybody is looking for teachers. And I think...
Well, the good ones don't want to do it, though, because they're criticized for discipline.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying like beat kids to death or anything like that, but kids actually need structure, and so they've taken structure away in order to not discipline, which to me is that's wrong.
It is wrong, and it's backwards. I mean, you'll never take the structure out of something and keep the education level at what it needs to be. It just doesn't work that way.
I have a cousin who taught in Huntsville schools, retired from the Huntsville schools. She said, "I'd never go back to it. Not now."
Oh, I know, and I hear horror stories, and people that have left
Good
teaching,
teachers.
people
Good
that
ones.
could have been, and I've known some really good teachers. Listen, I have known Linda Gale Knight and Joellen Cash and some other ladies that were the very best teachers.
Miss Ritchie, my English teacher.
I've had some myself, Miss Joyce Ware, and I could just go on naming great teachers. But today, what they have to deal with today is so much more difficult.
It's the social thing.
It is the social thing. It is all about the social thing. And man, it's hard. It's a hard job today. It is a very hard job.
And underpaid.
They are exactly like policemen and the military. Teachers in Alabama are grossly underpaid.
I spoke with a school teacher, and the other day, and loved it. I mean, just went to college. That's all he ever wanted to be, was a school teacher. You know what he told me?
What?
I think I'd rather quit and just work at a funeral home.
Yeah.
And I started laughing. I thought he was joking. He said, "No, I'm serious."
And I hate that. It shouldn't be that way.
I said, "Really?" And he said, "It's bad."
Yes.
So, man, we need to uplift our teachers in prayer,
absolutely,
and because they have a calling for it, and I feel like the way the social structure is, that they're being taken away from it.
I think their opportunity to really do what teachers did when I was in school is gone, because they have had so much of their opportunity to put structure in kids taken away from them. That's been just completely taken
Well,
away.
us parents need to be parents too.
Absolutely.
And us grandparents need to be grandparents too.
And I'm not good at that.
Brad and the rest, I probably won't either. I'll feed them full of chocolate and
Yeah.
send them home. A little bit over a minute left in this section. What would you like to tell folks?
Oh,
before we
please.
go?
Yeah. Boy, it's a great time. This is a great time to get involved in a church and a Bible study, something that'll revolutionize your life, your marriage, your home. We're looking forward to going to Lookout Mountain this coming Sunday night. Looking forward to being back at the Trading Post this coming Sunday. Can't wait to see all our people. And if you think everything is so bad, you need to start listening to what God says. If that means opening a Bible, pick up a good Christian book, do whatever you need to do. And always remember our veterans in prayer, because the suicide level is the highest it's ever been for our veterans. I owe that to my dear friend, Mr. Terry Coram, to mention that, because it should be on all of our hearts.
We had a great program Sunday.
Good.
As your Veterans Day.
Good.
As always. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Phillip, for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Thank you for letting me drag you in here in the studio.
Well, I don't think I was much of a show person today. The week took its toll on me.
You've been great. Thank you for watching. You're the apple of my eye. And again, thank you.
The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park, and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors, and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.